Dog fans, it's time to hunker down. Impact Media's weekly drive right through the hedges, hosted by Jake Trash Panda Skinner. See, I read the screen that time. And me, Jeremy the Impact Dork. Want to welcome you guys in. Got a lot to get to, so we're going to try to get to it just as quickly as we can. Jake, how are you?
Doing good, man. Survived the weekend, so that's always a good thing.
That's a good word. I like survive. That's the way we all
That
described it this morning.
I think this weekend was survival weekend in football. We just happened to have it a lot earlier this year.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were testing a lot of the patience of their fan bases. I will give them that.
Yeah, it was rough. As it rough first half with Georgia, Bama game. I called it though. I told you last week something wasn't right. So I don't want to hype myself up, but yeah, but
Well,
we
and
can
I
get
mean,
over that one.
I like the word you're using to describe it because not only because we're talking about the dogs, was it rough, but but yeah, there's a lot to talk about for sure. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with the game against South Carolina. You know, it's something we said. I say it all the time. You said it as well. It was going to depend on which Spencer Rattler showed up as to what kind of South Carolina team this was. If the normal Spencer Rattler shows up, UGA was going to steamroll them. It's unfortunate he's getting to where the new norm is the one we're about to talk about. But the old norm is that Spencer we're not quite sure of, kind of erratic at times. But the new one
Hmm.
showed up, and boy, did the South Carolina Gamecocks come out slinging the football.
They did. I mean, Georgia for that one. The only thing I can tell you, because I follow a few people like Graham Coffee on Twitter, and like I'm on one of the message boards and stuff. He'll tell you that last year there was a long con to the season. And you and I've talked about this off camera, but like Georgia had a game plan that they were not going to show their hand. We've talked about vanilla. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about all that. Georgia did that. Georgia gave a little bit more, but the big thing about this is Kirby is wanting to fight complacency. The opposite of that is urgency, as someone looked up, as someone
Right.
said. So like Georgia did not come out urgent. The defense in the first half was trying too hard not to draw penalties, not to let the big play happen. They were
Mm-hmm.
scared, they were nervous. If not scared, they just were apprehensive of just they weren't having fun. They were trying to be too
They were
technical.
there's that not tentative, but there's a word really, really close to that, and that's timid. They were
They were
timid.
very timid, yeah. And the same thing was for the offense. The problem is South Carolina and was daring Georgia to throw the ball deep. Beck won't do it.
Mm-mm.
Why? We don't know his reads, but if you look at the film, I wish we had an all 22 film to look through. He was missing wide open receivers all first half. There were at least
Mm-hmm.
two or three drives where he had an easy touchdown if he didn't take the check down. He
Mm-hmm.
literally and if you remember, Ra Thomas, this is one of the points I was going to have. Ra is a baller. We knew that from his Mississippi State, but he's starting to show it. That almost a back shoulder catch 30 yards downfield on a laser. That's an NFL level throw. That's
Mm-hmm.
Beck being Beck. He
Mm-hmm.
just he wasn't that throw out there was actually forced by Bobo in the second half because Bobo saw he had a timid quarterback who's too scared to turn the ball over. He's just scared of that leash.
Mm-hmm.
Bennett didn't care anymore. Bennett was like, "You're either going to play me or not. I'm going to sling the ball around," and that's why he was cocky and that's why he won. Beck is scared because he knows he's got two guys behind him that could take a spot, and he knows he's got Raiola coming next year. He's scared. I'm hoping this game wakes him up. This game was the 2022 Missouri game.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia needed to be hit in the mouth. The fact that they did what they did in that second half, that tells that if they play next week better, that tells you who this team really is. By the way, they did something they haven't done since Jim Donnan was head coach. That was their first comeback of over 10 points after
Mm-hmm.
losing by 10 at halftime or something. So Mark Richt's teams never did it, which tells you they never came back or they never got in the situation. Kirby's teams have struggled to come back. So congrats to that team for breaking a record. In a sense, it's been 20 plus years since that team's done that.
Yeah, and
So,
congratulations, UGA. We got to get some of these out of the way. 20 straight wins. I think
mhm,
that does include the playoffs. That's
yep.
impressive, especially nowadays in college football. They put a stat up. I sent it to you guys in the group chat, but they put that stat up of the first 98 games with Kirby Smart.
Oh,
The first
it's
98.
dead similar, but one
Yeah,
title, right?
yeah, pretty much. I think they have the same overall record. Kirby has won one more SEC
Hmm.
game than Nick Saban. They both have two
Right.
SEC championships and the one extra natty for.
So but I'll preface that by saying, look at those numbers, and when you compare them, everyone's forgetting a certain stat. Because that's at Bama, right? They
Yeah.
forget about Michigan State, they forget about LSU, and they forget about Miami.
Hmm.
Saban had been there and done that.
Hmm.
Kirby's first head coaching job is Georgia, and his numbers are similar to the GOATs. I mean, yeah, he learned it from him. I'm not going to deny that. But Kirby took the process they call it, and he's almost perfected it. He's found ways to get motivation. Nick Saban's ship is sinking and has been for quite a few years now. It's just been he was relying on the talent he had and the coaching staff, but now he's got a staff that doesn't know what they're doing.
Exactly. It's
Offensive
because
coordinator.
yeah, I was about to say he goes through coordinators so quickly,
Well,
and
wasn't
it's just the way his scheme works. But he has to change coordinators so much because they go
well
on to other
they go on other
jobs.
things, but isn't Tom the offensive coordinator Reese? I believe he was like their third or fourth choice. He was never priority
Something
one.
like that.
Every
Yeah.
guy that they wanted denied it. Kevin Steele didn't wasn't even their first pick for defensive coordinator. That says a lot about where Saban's teams have fallen, and I hate that for fans out there because you hate to see a dynasty end, but at the same time, Georgia's is going to end one day. I know it's going to happen.
Sure.
It's just hope it. You just don't want to see a train wreck.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
that
I
was
think Jeremy Pruitt's available if you wanted to take him.
yeah. He's probably got McDonald's bags though.
I think he's
Yeah,
cutting grass now. I'm not sure.
probably. They've moved it to Chick-fil-A bags at this point, full of cash to
Could
him.
be.
Yeah, could be.
Real quickly, I do want to go back to Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
Not just because he's quarterback, but let me see if you agree with this thought. I had this thought, and then I actually heard three other experts at other networks say things similar to this. I think this was the game that is going to get Spencer Rattler taken probably in the second or third round in this upcoming draft. He showed he could make a lot of throws.
nah.
He
Mm-mm.
could put a team on his back. He's not going to go first round, but he's going to get drafted slightly higher than he should because of a game like this.
Based on one half of football, I
Mm-hmm.
agree. That second half, 6 of 24 for 104 yards. 6 of 24 with a 4.3 yards per attempt.
He
That's the sixth, seventh round. He's the thing is Georgia. So I mean, I'm not arguing that. I'm just
yeah.
saying Georgia shifted Lassiter from one side of the field to the other to
Mm-hmm.
follow Leggett all the rest of the second half. Leggett
Yep.
had one catch for 3 yards.
Yep.
Lassiter shut him down for the rest of that game. Lassiter's a baller. That's a top tier corner at the college level. Pro, I think he'll catch on as a second guy, but like that's top tier SEC kid. I mean, you look at that. Georgia is the best at adjusting at that second half. Even if it's the third, they adjust, and the Georgia shifted. They brought pressure. They started having fun. They got loose. Georgia's defense is hell. Them dogs
And
is hell. And Spratler again learned that. I mean, that pick he threw
yeah,
2 picks and forced it. Not knocking Rattler, but it's the same Rattler we've seen. He's he might make on to
that was the
pro,
norm. That was the normal
but
one we
that's the
see.
norm. I'll put it this way: if he gives you 4 quarters more often of that first half numbers, I'll agree with you. But I just don't see it. Like I watched in the
Well,
second half, he was running for his life. He didn't have the best team around him.
well,
But I
quickly
just
though, think about some of these NFL teams.
Dallas
Now,
Cowboys
not the ones currently on here. I would say Spencer Rattler is probably better than anything the Jets have.
right
It,
now, yeah,
there's a couple teams that he's already better than what they have.
he
So I
is.
mean,
But I just don't know that he's the pro guy. But I could be wrong. I mean,
yeah.
I don't follow the NFL as much as I do college. Rattler's not bad, but he ain't great.
Well, and
Rattler,
he was a different quarterback too when he lost. Was it Wells Jr.?
yeah, he
He
lost that.
lost him, and then they put somebody on Leggett, and suddenly his top two targets are gone, and Rattler was having to throw
It,
to people who didn't know how to
it's
catch.
it's hard for a quarterback to when he doesn't have the talent around him. I'll
Right.
give you, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
But when you place a defense like that, you got to find a way if you're that quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers has had games like that. So
Hmm.
he's got intangibles. I mean, Carson Beck shows those same intangibles. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
you got to put it together for 4 quarters and do that week after week after week. You know, you can't be doing a baseball stat of 3 out of 10 is not going to do it in football. You got
No.
to do it 7, 9. You need to be completing a lot of passes and when the pressure's on him, Rattler does not look good. So, I mean, he's not horrible, but yeah, I
That's what
don't
I'm
see
saying.
him as a second, third
He's still a
rounder.
project. He's going to need some work. He's not going to be a starter on day one, I don't think, unless the team is
Yeah,
just that horrid. But
no.
he's if he gets to the right person, I mean, Sean Payton got a hold of him and said, "You know what? We're going to stick you behind Russell for a year or so. Watch Russell and listen to me.
Yeah.
And more than likely, we're going to dump
H-
Russell in a couple years anyway."
He's the kind of guy that might just show up in the pros. You're not wrong. He's the
Mm-hmm.
one who, if he's willing to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but he's just whatever is holding him back. He's just got to work on it. It'll probably help having better talent around him. I won't deny that, but I think he's that. I think he might be your fourth or fifth round pick.
Yeah,
He's that later one, not the second or third, unless he just balls the rest of the year. But I just don't
and
see
he
that.
might have a good combine. Something is going to move him. I think he's going to be right around third round, and I would have him
Okay.
closer to fourth or fifth.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. I got you. But going
But
off of that defense, dude, that
oh,
defense, that was insane. Like they are good. Um, I'm happy with that second half, and I saw something out of the dogs that I needed to see. Um, I don't know. If my dad looked at me at that point, and he's like, "Bowers is going first round. Anyone's crazy." And I'm like, "No, the top 10." And as we said that, it was that player Bowers caught it, spun around, and just pushed the guys behind him
mm-hmm.
for first down. And I'm like, he's going top 5. Like, there's no way you're not taking him at that position. He's too good at what he does.
And God bless him. I don't know if he wants to live his career in the city of Houston, but he just might,
He might, he'd be good there though with what they got.
or
And I will
Arizona, or
say,
I really hope none of those places.
yeah, um, going off of some of that stuff though, Georgia, they got to fix their kicking game.
Mm-hmm.
That kicker, he was the best kicker in high school football last year. You can't be missing. That's his third miss in 3 games. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he wasn't comfortable. So
Oh, and last thing I'll say on Beck, and then we'll move on to the rest of the team, as we are going
yes, my
to
bad.
focus back to the dogs, of course, because not only do they win, but that's what the show's about, and it's our show. That's why we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, we keep jumping around because we're like, well,
Yeah.
they won. They're great. Like, just give us a break.
Let's see, the one, two, three, fourth note I have on my entire on the game here that I took says Beck no like pressure. If you get in his face and start pressuring him around, that's part of why he had a bad first half, because when he looked up and saw somebody even within 5 yards, he started, doing the Sam Darnold I see ghost, and he was
He,
panicking and going
yeah,
crazy.
he did do that to a point. But if you look at that second half,
Mm-hmm.
even when they didn't have the blocking, that big play to Rah Rah, he had guys coming around him. They were closing the pocket. He stood tall and made the throw. He lacks the confidence until he gets
Yep.
going. So I think Bobo is going to have. Bobo called a great game. You look at that. Bobo did not do bad. He's calling the game he needs to. He basically looked at that for second half. He's got a timid quarterback that's struggling. What's he do? Calls quick 2 screens to love it. Let's just kind of get the first down. Let's just get some juice flowing. Okay, you're calm. You got 2 plays. Okay, I'm going to call a play. Don't check out of it. Huh? Don't check out. And what happened? Basically ran a 4 vert and
Mm-hmm.
said, you're throwing past the sticks. You better make this throw. Your butt's mine. All of a sudden, Carson started to get a little swagger.
Mm-hmm.
That he started running. He's all of a sudden that whole football team got their swagger back. They started popping people in the mouth. That's what makes a football team. They got complacent. They were timid.
Yep.
That team that Carson's basically Bobo's gonna have to look at him and go run run. Okay, first down, screen pass, screen pass. You comfortable? You lose? Okay, go deep. If you don't see it deep,
Yep.
you're hitting this guy for 10. You're hitting this guy for 15. You're not going check down, check down, check down. You don't see it, run because you can do it. He's going to just have to force Beck to grow up and grow up fast. Beck's got talent. I said earlier
Oh
he
yeah.
might have a Joe Burrow type year. He ain't going to have it because that's not our offense. He's talented like a Burrow can be because he's got the tools, but he's got to have that Joey B swagger. And
Mm-hmm.
he's got it. He's been cocky, but he's got to figure himself out. But I mean, the offense is good, and Dyson Edwards is him, as I keep hearing. The kid, like I was reading, he made holes that were this big, like that for him. Like the kid just found a space, slipped through, and he was
Mm-hmm.
gone for 15 yards. We broke big runs. He took a hit. He kept moving. We're going to need him because Kendall Milton is out again. MCL this time. Dog fans, I'm telling you, don't hate him. He's trying his best. He spends
Oh
more
yeah.
time rehabbing, staying in shape. He might be the most fit kid on the team. He can't help it, but that guy has the heart of a dog. Like,
I don't know what Milton's going to UGA for, but if he doesn't swap to sports medicine, he would be A+ right now, because just his own body, the way it's kind of taking hits here and there. Sports medicine is absolutely what he should do.
yeah,
Does he have a CL left in his knee at this point? I think he's got almost all of them, right?
I think he does.
Because I think he's done the ACL. This is the MCL. You got the LCL, the PCL, and the patella. That's all 5 that you have in your knee.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't. They actually don't say what he's taking. Most schools will actually tell you
yeah,
what they're majoring in. This one doesn't say anything, but nonetheless, like he's a good kid. We love him
yeah,
here at Georgia. Like we wish he could stay healthy, but we know it's not him. Like he can't help that hamstring injuries. Like he's been trying to nurse them. So it is what it is. But we're good with what we got. Raw's good. Dyjan's good. Another injury for you is Amarius Mims, our right tackle.
mm,
He's
yeah,
down upper ankle, which means a tightrope
mm,
surgery. They're
yeah.
hoping for
That's
they're hoping for the Florida game before he's back,
okay.
which that's a tightrope surgery can pull that off. But
Hmm.
I won't lie to you, that second half when we moved Truss from left guard to right tackle, he played better. He hit men. He was like, if that's the case, like if Mims comes back and he can play, throw Mims at left tackle, move Green down because Green's struggling. Like
Hmm.
I know he's a redshirt freshman, but he's the guy that they want. But if you got Mims, you put your best 5 out there,
Yep.
and I say let that Dylan Fairchild play left guard because he was moving some people. Not
Oh yeah.
great at running, but he was moving guys in the passing game. Give him a full week as a starter practice, and I bet Fairchild will be good because he was a wrestler and he was known for his strength in the weight room. So Georgia's good. This was their Missouri week from last year. This was I forgot what game in 21 that they needed, but like this is that game where they needed to hand their butts to them, so that because Kirby wasn't angry at halftime, he
No.
literally just was like, okay, this is it. I knew
Hmm.
this was coming. I'm happy to see it. Let's see how they respond. They weren't blaming each other. They just got in the locker room and said, guys, we're better than them.
Hmm.
Let's play like it. Let's have fun out there. And that's what he said they did. They just told themselves, Coach, we got this.
Yep.
They went out and did it. And if you didn't catch it, this was a cool moment. That interview he did at the start of the fourth, when he's sitting there talking about what they got to do. We got 3 more drives. We're gonna get 6 of them. We got, hopefully we can get a few more. We're going out there and win it. As he's sitting there saying what they're gonna do, Georgia's band is playing Krypton, the Superman theme. I'm like,
Hmm.
come on now, you can't write
Hmm.
that any better.
Nope.
That right there, I was like, it's over. It's over for South Carolina because I told you he hates Beamer and he wishes he could have blown him out, but he's like, I'll take a beat down and let Beamer think he's got me for a little bit because Beamer was saying some stuff every touchdown
Oh,
to
he was.
Kirby, and you could tell Beamer was wanting to come across that field to yell at him.
And every interview on the field he was doing, there was these little quips that if you didn't pick
Hmm.
up on them, you didn't realize they were inside jabs that he was taking at Kirby.
Oh yeah,
But Kirby heard him.
don't,
At some point, Kirby heard him, and he was like, "Okay, I got you."
yeah, don't listen to Gary Danielson. Like the dude's an idiot. Don't listen to him when he said, "Oh, they play golf together." No, those two don't want to be within 10 miles of each other.
No.
Excuse me. Like he would be happy if he shipped him all Beamer across country and never came back to East Coast. He would be happy.
Oh yeah.
But so I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
If
happy
he
with that game though.
and speaking of the defense, this defense did something this week that they haven't done a whole lot this year, and that made me very happy. Do you know what that was?
Got interceptions, got a sack.
They ended up with 3 total sacks. Some a stat, I know they've been doing the vanilla stuff, but I just been saying, well, if you're going to get somebody that's your little brother, you should be mashing him into the turf.
Yep,
And
Michael
what we
Williams
had
had a good one.
Stackhouse, Michael Williams, and Dumas Johnson had the other one, I think.
Yeah, I tell you when we blitz those middle linebackers, Munden and Johnson, there's some stuff there. Those boys are good. So I mean, like I said, I'm happy with it. This season. I'm not stressed in a Georgia game. I'm not worried
No.
about it. I saw the score, and I usually I go, I gotta watch this. This year, I'm like, I trust Kirby. Like, ain't nothing to worry about. Like, I wouldn't say I'm like not care. Like, I didn't really get to watch the first half. I was doing an oil change on my car because that was the only time I could get the lift available for my cousin. But like, I just wasn't stressing. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna stress this football season until it's a
Nah.
big game because I know what this team's capable of. It's not cocky, it's confidence. And if they lose, they lose. I mean, you can't win every game every year. You can't win like we got 2 back to back. Would I like to see 3? Absolutely. But I'm not going to sit here and cry and say that it's Bobo's fault if we don't win another title or Kirby's or whoever else's because
Right.
that's just life.
Did I tell you where I saw bits and pieces of the first half of this game?
At the KSU game, I think is
Yep,
what you
I was in
said.
the KSU press box. Yep. I was sitting here like this, and there was a TV like up to my right. This looks to your left if you're looking there, but it was up to my right. And we usually have random games on in there until the KSU game starts. You know, a lot of people are either fans of both, or they work for KSU and they're really Dog fans or Jacket fans or whoever. Sometimes we'll have random like Kansas versus Tennessee or something in there. But there was a lot of times, we're all working on stuff, waiting on the game to start, and we're all going. See somebody typing a little more. Looking again. Well, they better get their act together. And then we had to cut it off at halftime because that's when the KSU game kicked off. But we knew as soon as they opened up with those two scores, I was like, "Yep, they're no worries anymore. They have this."
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Like I said, it's just Georgia's got to figure out who they are. This team figured it out. I think
Mhm.
UAB next week will be a good game. I would like to see a little more urgency from the get-go that moves some guys off the line. Don't let them score in the first half, at best you can, and like let Carson cook.
Mhm.
Let him a screen or two, run the ball, screen, crossing right because he lived in the middle of the field when he needs to be
Yep.
going to the boundaries. He needs to do something different. Bobo finally forced his guy to do what he had to, so force him into making some uncomfortable throws to wake him up, and
Mhm.
maybe he doesn't need it next week. Honestly, I would like to see the first play of the game them do something similar and just have one of their guys put Arian Smith on their weakest cover guy and just put him straight out there on a play action pass,
Yep.
30, 40 yards downfield, bomb it and go, Carson, are you awake already? Let's go.
Yeah.
And just
Was
let him bomb one because that right there would just take the breath out of UAB on the first play.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that game would be on cruise control after that. I absolutely agree. I was going to say the same thing if you didn't say it. Be like you line it up like, almost out of a pistol like you're going to run it or something like
Oh
that,
yeah,
but you just have that one go route to where you don't even look at him. Like Carson, don't even make eye contact, don't even look in that direction, like you could care less who's out there.
Pat Mahomes no look it and just throw it 50
Yep.
yards.
Well, I mean, you could look when you actually throw it because that'll probably help. But just okay, here we're going to UGA football. We're going to punch you right in the mouth, and if you see that guy step up, there it goes. Just let it go.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be good. I think that would be a huge thing. Just get him going early, and it'll once he gets rolling, I think you'll see a new Carson back out there.
Absolutely. I will leave it up to you. Do you want to preview the UAB game now, or you want to get into some other topics?
I'll preview the UAB one in
Okay.
a minute. I just was gonna make some comments on stuff we talked about last week.
Oh yeah.
So what I wrote is Texas is back for one quarter. 3 quarters they let Wyoming hang in there. Now, listen, Georgia fan, I hear you people. We let South Carolina hang in there. I get it. But Carson had a great game. Our running backs had a great game. We just struggled to put it together. Texas let Wyoming hang in there, and Wyoming's quarterback had a better game than Quinn did. Quinn's numbers were inflated because of one play at the fourth quarter when it was out of control. So Texas, I mean, like I said, you said Texas is
Where's
back.
that
I
game?
get it. They're not
There.
bad. That's just they're
When
gonna have to
when I
figure
say
something
back,
out.
I'm not talking as a world beater top tier. I'm talking about they're actually decently relevant. Like if somebody says Texas football,
Yeah,
it's because they have a generally good chance to win. I know they're ranked 4. It just may mean because there's not that many other teams that can technically beat them on a field, but the three
yeah.
people above them would run them out of the stadium.
Oh yeah. So like it. Okay. So it took. Excuse me. So I apologize. It was Xavier Worthy one play missed tackle got them the lead. Then they drove back down the field, and that was about the time that the Tim Tebow wind up over the top of the head quarterback that Wyoming's got. Started making some bad plays and a bad interception that just sealed the deal. So
What's that
congrats,
kid's
Wyoming.
name?
You play with Texas. They did not do bad. Um, but yeah, that was
Svoboda?
Texas.
Does that
Is that
sound right?
Savoda,
Svoboda?
Savoda, whatever they call it. Yeah.
What is his first name? Evan Svoboda. I'm gonna go with Svoda. Svoboda. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that, but
I'm gonna go with that. We don't have our linguist expert on this show, so we will just try to figure it out.
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm not saying they're world beaters again. I'm just saying that if you actually say Texas football, you can say it without starting to laugh pretty good. Like you can actually say, you know what, they're actually putting some stuff together. Like I said, it just happens to be a year where the three people above them are way above them. They just happen to be better than the handful of teams around them.
Yeah, that's not there's our other member of the
Yep, I
team right
just
there.
saw her. Yep. But
But yeah,
I had posed the question to you, unless you had more to add on Texas. I had posed the
I'm good with
question to
that.
you. Um, are there one or two teams that you're kind of keeping your eye on that could be threats to Georgia? Not I mean, maybe it's to take over the number one spot. Maybe it's if this 14 playoff kind of stays similar to how it is. Is there somebody in the top 8 or 10 or so that you just may not necessarily want to see if they're coming in hot?
Ooh, I was actually looking at the SEC, but now that you said
That works too. SEC,
SEC,
a threat in any way, a threat in the SEC, a threat to
I'll
the
say
national, whatever.
SEC, Ole Miss. Ole
Could see
Miss,
that.
I'm curious about. I will say Texas, if they figure things out, will be
Mhm.
one. Florida State, Florida State one, and you know what? I'll give you props. Michigan. I'll give Michigan some props. They're not looking bad, but all I'll say is Georgia is that team that when they figure things out, they know what they're doing. It's the same thing with, I'm not trying to sound like a homer. I don't want to do that because I want to be fair. But all I'm saying is just knowing how Georgia is and seeing Georgia play the previous Michigan team, playing Ohio State, playing the Bamas, playing these other schools. If Georgia figures themselves out, I won't. If they show up in 50 something to 7 against UAB, and
Yeah,
they took it from the get go, and we play Auburn, and we go in and beat Auburn, we get down to Tennessee, because Tennessee, I mean, side note, Tennessee versus Florida, I'm still laughing. I'm still laughing. Joe Milton says I don't go in and lose in Florida. I'm still laughing that correctly. But like they start rolling, I don't see anyone. If they keep playing the way they have the past week or two,
yeah,
then I will 100% say that I see a playoff appearance, but I don't see a title unless something happens, you know. So
yeah.
because it is hard to win 3 in a row and for good reason. So, but I mean, that's the teams. I mean that whole top five is scary in a way,
I
with the
think
exception
there's
USC because USC they see a good defense. I don't think they'll do it because they ain't got a defense.
there's one there's one outside the top five that I'm going to mention because you kind of got it. Some of the ones I was going to throw out there, Michigan being one, but yeah, a couple of the other ones. But there's one because
I wonder which one if you're gonna say who I'm thinking.
I'm going to preface it with this. This team has shown that it can throw up a lot of points really quickly.
Hmm.
That it can score out of the gate, which is UGA is pretty slow out of the gate so far this year. We've said that Beck's got to warm up. Sometimes the defense has got to get going. This is a team that if you spot them a couple points, you might be playing catch up the rest of the time. I think
Washington is that good.
nope, not quite, not quite. It's the one right under them. I think the Fighting Irish could be a
Fighting
very
Irish.
fun matchup. If you see them versus UGA, maybe they're the 4 team, 1 versus 4, and that would be a team I would have to worry about because Notre Dame had a game earlier this year. I think it was week 1 where there was like a 2.5 hour weather delay. Uh, they were the away team. Their people had to go find hot dogs and other things because they ran out of food to feed the kids.
Hmm.
So they had to go up to the concession stand and do that. Like I said, they're the away team, so they don't have hardly any of the amenities that the team they were playing had. You would think, okay, well, they're going to come out flat in the second half. And instead, they put like, I don't know, it was like 20 points on the board in the first 10 minutes as
Hmm.
soon as they came out of that and just put the other team so far out of it, they never caught up. And
Yeah, I mean, I see
Notre
that.
Dame has kind of done that all year. That if there's a team, Ohio State might be that team if they figure out quarterback. That if you can
Yeah,
score a bunch of points at once or a bunch right out of the gate, if you can put 10 points, 14 points on the board real quickly, it changes the way UGA has to play. And I don't know if they're ready for that.
no. Georgia's got to figure that stuff out. I don't disagree with the Irish, but we'll see what happens when they got to go Ohio State, Duke,
Mm-hmm.
and USC, and I'll even throw Pitt in there because Pitt likes to play
Yeah,
tough.
they do.
But we'll see what they're worth. I know we're getting close on our time here.
Yeah, I'm watching that too.
Um, yeah, I just had to look up, but I will tell you one note that I wrote down because you brought it up
Mm-hmm.
because we were going to talk about Colorado last week.
Yeah.
I told you I felt like there were some teams out there they're going to mess with them. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have Colorado State picked on that one,
No.
but I will say when a good team plays Colorado, we were right. They're not gonna be the team that we thought they were.
Well, they just showed
Um,
you how to do it. It's you can't get in Dion's head. Dion was not phased by any of the stuff that other coach said. But who was phased? Dion's entire locker room was
yeah,
rattled by all the banter going back and forth. They got
that
caught up
they
in
were
it.
rattled
And
and
so that's
mm,
how that guy won that game is he got him completely out of it.
Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and say this too. Colorado State, that was some dirty football. That hit on Hunter,
Hmm.
at first I was like, oh, big hit. And then I looked at it again. I'm like, that was cheap.
That was
I
bad.
love a good hit, but that was bad. Like I didn't immediately think it because I mean I was I was tired,
Yeah.
but I saw it. I was like, okay, that's not a good hit. And then my friend was like, dude, they kept pushing them into the goalpost at the end zone. They kept doing other
Hmm.
stuff. They kept taking cheap shots, and I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, that was a team that was. I'm glad they didn't win because that's a cheap way of winning. Like, but unfortunately, that's something Dion's going to fight with all year. Teams are going to take cheap shots because they want to get it
Hmm.
Dion. They want to upset him. They want to
Oh
upset
yeah.
all of it. So,
Well, think about what two of his kids play on that team. So, I mean,
mhm.
if your dad was your coach, your dad may be unfazed by what some other coach across the playing field says, but you're kind of like, hey, quit talking about my dad like that. And so you're thinking more about that than you are trying to complete a pass or, well, I think one of them's a defensive back or something, right?
Mhm.
You're
Yeah, yeah. He plays corner. Where's number 21?
and he can already dance like his dad. I saw him do that during a couple
Yeah,
plays,
flag.
and he was like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got his kids are good. They're very talented. I won't argue with that. They've got Colorado's going to be a good team. Again, I think they're 7-5, 8-4
Hmm.
right now.
Yeah.
He needs to go get some more dogs, as he likes to call them. He's going to get them. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Dion, his name is going to pull in whoever he wants. So,
Well, right now, let's say you're sitting on your couch and Deion Sanders, Kirby Smart, and Nick Saban walk in and sit on your couch and try to convince your parents that you should come to their school. Well, nothing personal. You're not going to be a Crimson Tide. Just the way things
not
are
these
going right
days.
now. But it's like, hey, come to Georgia. Maybe in the next 2 years, you'll be able to sit behind people and be able to play. And Dion will be like, I tell you what, kid, you come out and compete, you can play tomorrow. And you go, I'm going to Colorado.
See, I agree with that. As a parent who wants their kid to play right away to get
Mm-hmm.
exposure, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
here's
that
where I will,
NIL. The
and
faster the
NIL.
faster you start, the faster you play, that's the more money you can earn.
Yeah, but to that, the smart move as a parent in that conversation is looks at a Kirby Smart, looks at what Saban used to offer, looks
Mm-hmm.
at the schools and goes, listen, you're going to sit. It's the old school way, like Bearhead, like you're going to sit for a bit, but when you're done, you're going to go pro. Kirby's going to send his guys to the league. Dion's going to send guys to the league. But there's a difference between sending a guy to the league and being, hey, I think I'm ready for this, to knowing, oh, get to the end, like what was it that someone said, like, oh, these practices ain't nothing. Like we don't practice this hard. This is it. I think it was the Eagles, the guys who went to the Eagles. They're like, we don't practice like this at Georgia. They went, oh, you'll practice lighter? No, we hit harder.
And quick score prediction: UAB versus
Yeah.
Georgia.
If Georgia does what they're supposed to, I'll go ahead and say 48-7 again. If they don't, give me 31-14.
Man, I was going to say 48-10. That is crazy. We were dead on that number because I'm looking at a spread of 41.5. Take the over.
Yeah.
Saturday, 7:30 on ESPN2. As we said, that is when that game is. We got a little more time. We actually
Yeah,
rushed through that.
I
That was
want
great.
to I want to give a shout out to John.
Yep.
Your jackets are on the CW, baby.
Yep. The Yellow Jackets this week are going to play on the same network as the Vampire Diaries. So shout out to Georgia Tech. We'll be doing that show
Yeah,
later in the week, and I actually think that's a good thing. I like that deal very much. We'll talk more about it on Up with the White and Gold, the Georgia Tech show, but
I'm crashing that. I'm going to crash that podcast one day.
it just may happen. You always want to tune into our shows. You never know what's going to happen. But for the Trash Panda, Jake Skinner, I am Jeremy the Impact York. This has been Hunker Down. We will see you guys next week. Let's get a go dogs, Jake.
Go dogs.